And good morning, good morning, good morning. It's another great morning here on Sippin Coffee with Spider. Who am I? I am your old buddy Spider, and I'm here with some news. It's a nice, cool morning today. It's starting to cool down a little bit for September, but still kind of warm. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. Um, So let's get right into the news. This is a big one right off the bat. Associated Press, New Mexico governor issues orders suspending the right to carry firearms in public across Albuquerque. And I think this is going to be problematic. I think this is going to go to federal court, most likely. Supreme Court will get a look at it. But she says New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham on Friday issued an emergency order suspending the right to carry firearms in public across Albuquerque and the surrounding county for at least 30 days in response to a spate of gun violence. The Democratic governor said she expects legal challenges but was compelled to act because of recent shootings, including the death of an 11-year-old boy outside a minor league baseball stadium this week. And I see the point. I see the point, but she already knows it's going to be challenged. And that means if she knows that, then she's admitting that she may be constitutionally wrong. Whether she's morally or ethically wrong is besides the point. I'm not going to make that argument here. But constitutionally, she's wrong. And anybody who gets charged during this thing will more than likely be able to get the charges expunged after the fact, after it goes to the Supreme Court. I bet. Futurism says something weird is going on with the asteroid NASA smashed. And not long ago they had this thing where they fired something at an asteroid, a rocket at an asteroid, to break it up, to test to see if they could. They want to use that as a potential defense in case an asteroid gets too close to Earth. So apparently, and this was nearly a year ago, I say not too long ago, but it was nearly a year ago. As New Scientist reports, a school teacher and his pupils seem to have discovered that the orbit of Dimorphos, the space rock hit by the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, last September, has apparently continued slowing down unexpectedly in the year since the refrigerator-sized craft smashed into it. And it's been spinning consistently slower than it did prior to the DART test. Changing the trajectory was the point of the DART test. And NASA announced that it had done that it has succeeded, bringing the asteroid's orbit down a full half hour. So it's interesting. I don't know what it means about it spinning slower, if that's a big deal or not, but I guess we'll find out. It's promising. It is promising. I'll give it that. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, because asteroids have been a big topic for a few years now, because everybody's worried we're going to get hit by one. Everybody's worried we're going to be hit by this massive asteroid and it's going to cause an extinction level event like the dinosaurs. And it could. It might. But we'll have to see. Rolling Stone says Adrock and Mike D celebrate naming of Beastie Boys Square. Where is this at? Where's this at? At the corner of Ludlow and Rivington in New York City's Lower East Side, officially renamed Beastie Boys Square. Well, there you go. Give them some props. Give them some props. Associated Press back again. UN atomic watchdog warns of threat to nuclear safety as fighting spikes near a plant in Ukraine. And we've already had issues. Apparently there's already been fighting around different plants in the UK, different nuclear plants that have threatened the energy dependence of Europe, which is another thing. Just like the Ukraine apparently is everybody's source for grain out there, it's also apparently everybody's source for power. Why are we putting so many things in Ukraine? It makes it an obvious target for somebody like Russia, who's supposed to be apparently this big boogeyman. But if Russia wasn't such a big boogeyman, we wouldn't have to worry about it. Would we still put things there to provoke them? Or would we put things other places and spread it out a bit? Because we should be spreading things out a little bit. It just makes sense to me. It just makes sense to me. From Vulture, not too often that you get this, but I wasn't aware of this. I'll have to read into this a little bit. The GameStop movie is more entertaining than it has any right to be. Let's see what that's about. Excuse me. I felt that sneeze building up. It's apparently based on the stock assault that was centered around GameStop, where everybody was hedge managers and people on Wall Street were trying to short sell the stocks, and I'm not entirely sure what all of that means, but it's you can look up explanations for short selling. And a bunch of just random people were like, nah, we're not going to let you do that. And so they propped up GameStop stocks by buying up so much of it on their own and preventing it from being just sold off like that, because they figured it would put the company out of business. And they ruined it for everyone, for the Wall Street people. The Wall Street people lost tons of money. They had to do emergency sales of their own just to keep their clothes on. And now there's a movie making about it, apparently, because it's that big of a deal. It's interesting. I'm not interested. I don't care. But it is interesting if you're into that. Escaped Pennsylvania killer spotted twice on same day as search zone narrows in on fugitive. Remember, this was from last week. So he very well could be caught by now, but it's interesting that every day from the week before, still, they haven't caught him yet, but I think they will. I don't think he has survival training. I think he'll get busted trying to think that he'll survive somewhere in the woods. That's what I think. Earth.com. The Hyades star cluster may contain the closest black holes to Earth. That's pretty cool. That's, in a weird sort of way. I like that kind of stuff. I don't think we're in any imminent danger of being devoured by a black hole, but that's cool. We're learning more about black holes. I like this kind of stuff. I love stuff about space. You know that. I love space. Reuters says Romania finds new suspected Russian drone fragments on its territory. And I can't read it because it's paywalled, because it's Reuters. Reuters, you suck, by the way. Nobody wants to pay for your news. I used to read your news all the time because it was relatively unbiased, and now I have to pay for it. So I'm not going to. Forget it. But this is interesting. Russia, I'm sure, has drones all over the place. Anybody who's capable of making drones probably has them all over the place. I am 100% certain the United States is flying drones all throughout South America, through parts of the Middle East, possibly through Africa. I'm certain of it. It doesn't surprise me. It's going to be listed as a provocation, of course, because we found it. But if the shoe was on the other foot, we'd have some excuses. Now, this is interesting because this is relatively new. Science Alert says India's lunar rover that just went up there, remember, it just went up there, has gone to sleep and it may never wake up. India's Chandrayaan-3 mission delivered its Vikram lander and Pragyan. Man, I'm terrible with Indian pronunciations. Rover to the lunar surface on August 23rd. Now, as the lunar day ends 2 weeks later, the rover's mission may be over. The Indian Space Research Organization has put Pragyan into sleep mode. I guess these don't have what NASA rovers have, which are multi-mission radioisotope thermoelectric generator power plants that last for years. They're really expensive. But Pragyan relies on solar power, and with lunar night setting in, that makes sense. So it's transmitted all of its data. It's hibernating. Temperature on the lunar surface will plummet to negative 120 degrees Celsius, which is negative 184 degrees Fahrenheit, and the spacecraft electronics were not built to handle that. But the battery is charged, and the receiver's still on, the receiver. So there's some hope that it can be reawakened when night passes, and that it can continue its mission on September 22nd. So let's keep an eye on that. I mean, I have a lot of problems with the Indian government, the Modi government. He's a straight up dictator, and I won't take that back. I won't be argued about it. But at least they're doing more space stuff. You know, I'll give them that. I will give them their props. And I'm interested. I like space. I just said it just a few minutes ago. I love space stuff. WWG with some news that's kind of just annoying for me, unless you're a big fan. I guess if you're a fan, this is cool for you, but I think it's annoying. Travis Scott is apparently in Mortal Kombat 1, the new remake of Mortal Kombat, where it's unclear if he will be in the base game or will be in DLC added to the game after it releases, or what capacity he will be in the game. He's going to be in the game somehow. It doesn't say if he's going to be a character. They also have Natara, who's a new playable character. I thought she was an old character. I thought Natara was the vampire lady from earlier games, but she's being played by Megan Fox. So I guess they're trying to add some more celebrity star power. Sorry, it's early. Power to the game. I don't know. It's weird. I don't want to see Travis Scott in anything. I think he's kind of worthless as a performer, and he's in enough trouble as it is. If you haven't looked it up, go ahead. You can argue with me if you want, if you're a big fan, but I think he's awful. But that's just me. He's making money and I'm not, so there's that. ABC News says police chief put on paid leave after video shows him allegedly body slamming a student. Now the kids have phones all the time. They're recording all this stuff that's going on in schools, but a lot of that is biased. Now, I'm not saying it's appropriate to body slam a kid who's smaller than you, but if this is, let's say, a high school kid, and some of these high school kids are big kids, they're the size of full-grown adults. Okay, and if they're causing trouble to the point where they're like fighting and attacking, where they might really hurt somebody or hurt you, what else are you gonna do? And when people are recording these on their phones, they don't record the whole thing. They only record the event and the immediate aftermath. They don't record what build up to it a lot of the times, or if they do, they edit it because they don't want their friends to look bad. They want the adults to get in trouble. So I want to know the whole story, but I'm not saying that it's good to slam kids. I'm not saying that. I won't say that. That's bad. Washington Post says, as GOP investigates prosecutors, experts worry about judicial independence. Well, it's a little late for that. It's a little late for that because after Trump was sending the Department of Justice after people, and now that Biden is sending the Department of Justice after people, it looks like everybody's been using them as an attack dog. That's what it looks like. Whether that's true or not is besides the point. It's the optics of the situation. I'll say that a lot. I say optics because that's what it is. So you've damaged their credibility, whether they are really compromised or not. Just like the FBI. The FBI is in a terrible spot right now. Their credibility is blasted through with all kinds of holes after everything with the Trump Russia document and the Biden laptop and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, we don't even have any definitive answers on any of this stuff yet. It's a bad situation. Bad situation. Readers, just pardon me while I just mangle everything today. Reuters, with a kind of a clickbaity headline, says in, quote, macho, unquote, Mexico, stage set for first female president. Everybody goes crazy about, oh, look, there's this kind of president that's different from the norm. Oh, it's a first. Oh, it's this or that. It's really not that big of a deal. It's just another person. We make too much of a big deal about people's genders and about people's skin colors and about all this other stuff. We make this big deal, and it's not a big deal. It's taking away from what they may accomplish as a person by focusing entirely on their skin color or their gender or their romantic life. You know, it takes away from them as a person. It's hard to respect somebody if you're only interested in them because of some superficial facet of who they are. So, but we'll see. Mexican presidents have been kind of interesting the last two that have been in there. They kind of went back and forth in a lot of different areas. A little unpredictable. So we'll see how she does. More from Reuters. I wish I could read these stories. So if Reuters would get their stuff together. Netherlands police use water cannon detain 2,400 climate activists. Man, these climate people, they're getting crazy. I understand you believe it's a big issue, and maybe it is a big issue. I'm not going to denigrate it. I'm not going to say that you're wrong. But the Just Stop Oil people blocking roads to Burning Man and all this other stuff, it's like, it's out of control. You're not helping. You're just making yourself look bad. You're not drawing attention to what you're trying to do. You're just getting on people's nerves. And some folks will say, oh, yeah, well, if they get on their nerves, that's good. We need to make them angry enough to act. And they're just going to act against you. They're not going to act for you or do anything that you want them to do. You'll end up in jail overnight with a fine or worse. Some countries are worse. Some countries are worse, so you better watch out if you're going to go and do these kind of things. I understand the passion. I understand, but I'm telling you, watch your backsides because people are going to be after you. From IFL Science, and this has been coming up a little bit. I've seen different variations of this, so I'm going to see if there's anything new about it. Earth's core appears to be encased by an ancient, mysterious structure. And again, they use the word structure. When what it is, they're saying through the science of seismic imaging from the article, researchers have revealed that an ancient ocean floor may be wrapped around the Earth's core. Now, that doesn't read structure to me. That reads like a region of material or a mass. It's interesting that they keep using structure because that makes me think that it's something made, it's something manufactured by intelligence. I don't know. It just keeps it gives me the wrong impression. And I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not saying, oh, they're trying to cover up that it's a structure of something and it's in plain as day. But no, it's just the word. Better word choice, I think, is warranted here. Is it just me? Am I the only person that thinks that? It could be. I'm usually the only person that thinks anything about some of this stuff. I feel another sneeze coming on. And here's something interesting. Something that I will believe that I was right about. Reuters, I can't read it again, paywall, but it says U.S. CDC, Center for Disease Control, says existing antibodies can work against the new C19 variant. What a surprise. What a surprise. It's not a surprise to some people like myself who said that this was going to happen during the 3 years that everybody was freaking out and saying if you don't get your shot, then you're going to kill grandma. And I said, natural immunity is a thing. It is not a myth. It's not just like, this isn't the bubonic plague. It's not the Black Death. It's something that we can develop an immunity to if they let us, and they didn't want to. And the injections haven't been working as well as natural immunity. That's a fact. That's not me making stuff up. That's not me going to fringe websites. That's coming from science journals. You can go look it up. I don't save the links anymore because who cares? Nobody really wants to listen to that from me anymore, despite the fact that I'm right. I'm kind of grouchy about it. But whatever. I'm pleased to find out more and more and to have vindication because I knew it. I went to science class when I was a kid. I learned biology. It's basic stuff. This is how viruses work. Only a rare few have been outside of that. And this was not one of those rare few. So you should be good. If you've caught it once or twice, you got your antibodies, you should be good. From The Verge, PowerPoint co-creator Dennis Austin has passed at 76. A lot of these older technology guys have been passing because they developed all this stuff in the 80s when they were like middle age to upper middle age in the like 30s and 40s, and they're getting to be, so let's see, they'd be 50 or 60 by 2000 maybe, give or take. And then from there they would be about 70 or 80 now. So it's unfortunate. A lot of these pioneers that developed all this stuff, they're going, and we're stuck with Bill Gates and some other people who think that they're smarter than they are. Not that I want anybody to pass. I don't want him to suddenly croak. I don't want to do that's mean. That's rude of me. That's disrespectful. But I'm just offhand comment. ABC News says group of 20 countries, which is the G20 summit, economic summit, agree to increase clean energy but reach no deal on phasing out fossil fuels. Well, of course not. Of course not. Because, and that's my cat's like knocking stuff off on the couch here, making a huge mess. That's what they do. But so many things that we rely on are made with fossil fuels. You can't phase them out unless you have a plan to replace them. And so far, there's no actual plan other than for power. We don't know how we're going to replace petroleum in all the different products that we make. We don't have a plan for that. We only have plans for like electric vehicles and electric homes and this and that. But even those are still based on coal-fired plants. You have to move everything over to nuclear or do something else. Wind power or whatever you've got. And we're nowhere near ready. We're nowhere near ready for that. So all these targets to try to phase all this out by so-and-so years, it's doomed to failure. We don't have the manufacturing yet. We don't. So until that happens, this is all futile. It's all just hypotheticals. I know that's going to chap some folks out there. This is going to be one of those shows that if anybody's going to be mad at me, this will be it. This will be the show that people will be like, oh, I'm not listening to your show anymore, and here's why. Strongly worded email. What's next? What's next? What do we have on the list for today? There's more updates for Diablo 4. If anybody plays that, I still don't, but if you do, there's more new updates, more new bonuses, and patch notes. So by all means, check that out if you are a fan. From IGN of all places, quote, complete, unquote, models of human embryos created from stem cells in lab. They use stem cells and made models. It closely mimics the development of a real human embryo, quote unquote. And I've talked about this. They're working towards this. They're working towards genetic modification. They're working towards genetic creation. It's been years since they made that sheep. They made the sheep years ago when I was a kid, and they're working on growing organs and growing all this stuff so that you can get organ transplants without having to wait for a person. You can just order one and make sure that you don't even have any defects as you're growing up. Like make sure that you don't have Down syndrome or multiple sclerosis or anything else. But I don't know. It's dangerous to me. We don't know how everything reacts. They don't really know how the mRNA injections are going to change people. And they are going to mess with things. Your body might reject these kind of things. Nobody knows. There hasn't been enough testing. There hasn't been enough research. It's all guesswork. But we're going to plow on ahead because we do. Arrogance as a species. Just going to plow on ahead, do what we want. And if there's consequences, oops, we'll do better next time. But we won't. I'm in a cynical mood today. Super cynical. I don't know why. From Billboard, hope you weren't trying to see Guns N' Roses in St. Louis because they postponed their concert due to illness. Of course, this was last week. Frontman Axl Rose struggled with vocal issues during a recent show in New York, and I've never really been a big fan of Mr. Axl Rose. I'm not into his vocal stylings. A lot of people have said he's one of the greatest singers out there, and I have some disagreements with that. But he's still famous. He's still putting on a show for people, and for those people, I hope he gets better. Whatever he has, I hope it clears up so that he can continue to entertain the people who enjoy that entertainment. There we go. Another one from IGN. Microsoft announces Xbox digital broadcast for Tokyo Game Show. How interesting. I haven't been impressed by anything that they've done at any of the game things this past year. I mean, E3 is long gone. I don't think it's ever coming back. They shut it down during the virus years, and it's probably dead and buried. And Xbox has been kind of like, oh yeah, look at these amazing things whenever they have these little streams, and all of its things we usually have already heard. Nothing's really new or amazing or surprising. Same thing with PlayStation, real lackluster. So I'm just going to wait and see what shows up in the Microsoft Games store and then be surprised, like, oh man, look at this cool new game coming, because that'll be easier for me. One final story Associated Press, Nancy Pelosi says she'll seek House re-election in 2024, dismissing talk of retirement at age 83. You know, it's like Mitch McConnell. It's like Feinstein. It's like a few other people. You're too old. You're too old. That's not just being ageist. That's not me discriminating against you because you're age. It just means these people have demonstrated poor mental faculties. And it's because of their age. They're too old. Get out. Get out of the office. Give somebody else a try. It's time. So long, Pelosi. So long, McConnell. Make way for somebody else. Get out of the way. And that's what I got for you tonight. Just a few stories from last week. And I hope everybody has a great breakfast. As I always wish you have a great breakfast, because I would love to have more breakfasts. Honestly, I never have breakfast food usually in my house. I always have everything else but breakfast food, it seems like. But I hope you have a good one, and I hope you enjoy your day. I think it's the weekend still. I think it might not be. I have no idea. I have no idea. If it isn't, you got to go to work, then don't blame me. But if it is, enjoy your weekend. Have fun with that. And I am out.